What I did was really to throw light on what adaptability looks like, how we have structured and defined the science of adaptability, what are the kind of outcomes which these businesses are experiencing, and hence how they are differentiating themselves. Park Steven, I will want to understand from you, given the time we have, what are the specific areas you will want me to deep dive into?
Okay, thank you, Saswat. I think again, your point number one, yeah, is very consistent along the year with HR, yeah, because sometimes HR is focused on doing what without knowing why, yeah.
Yeah.
We do a lot of initiative without really have a solid business case.
Yeah.
It's just to pull out our action plan for the initiative, right? So I think I really agree with you for point number one, yeah. And if you think about what will be next to discuss, and then will be related to my context, actually it's number four.
Yeah.
And number five, that's the two things that I think HR now becoming 4, 5, and you tell me about effectiveness, right? So 3, 4, 5. So these are the three things that I really think really related to my context as well.
Perfect. So obviously we'll then what I will do, I will talk more through 3, 4, 5, and I really want you to take through point 8, because that talks to the point 1. If point 1 is the problem, Park Steven, as you identified, how do you solve it is point 8, and some insights there. And we are obviously there. You have report with you. As you go through that detail, we can connect for deeper dive. So I will then, what I will do, I will directly dive into point 3. Yeah. Now, and Park Steven, you kind of alluded to this. If you really look at HR effectiveness agenda, and it's not a surprise, the gaps and where the focus is remains consistent across 3 studies. So what is happening is HR has known this for long enough time, but HR is unable to address this gap. And it's interesting to understand why this knowing doing gap is. And you already said it in our assessment, this is happening for 2 reasons. One, HR transformation in itself is complex. So you need to manage the complexity and orchestrate multiple things to get success. So that's one challenge. So the question is, where do you start and how do you start? The second challenge, which is a bigger challenge in HR, is HR over years tends to pick up programs, initiatives, and they continue to get added. So to your earlier point, as you understand the value which matters to business, you will become sharper around your strategy, and then you will have an ability to drop some initiatives, which rarely happens in HR. So HR is also overburdened and hence is unable to address things which they themselves feel are most important, but still continue to remain as a gap. The other point there is, if you really look at the mature archetypes, so this really talks about urgency has hence intensified around some of the focus areas, and that's where you will see another consistent with my earlier comment. Again, the same pattern is emerging because organizations still you are able to overcome, to your earlier point, the whole digital working for you, where you are able to get away from managing process compliance LOAs because it's automated on system. Your role clarity has come in, and people are not really conflicting, they are collaborating more. Only then you are moving to higher order processes, which is, if you look at it, things like analytics, things like strategic direction change, things like robotics or new tools for HR, which can further accelerate HR, is higher order things in the mature archetypes versus overall where everything averages out. The interesting piece here is integrate talent management processes comes back again. And why this is coming back again in our assessment, Park Steven, is while broader audience talks about employee experience, as you start solving for employee experience, you will create next level of challenge on talent process integration. So just think of it. We are currently integrating talent management processes. But as you think of experience, there will be another challenge of integrating those processes. Now, if you step back and think further, I have to solve for outcome for business and not really solve for my programs. I need to suddenly create another layer of integration. So that's the challenge we are seeing, which is facing more mature archetype organization. And hence, integrate talent management is coming again top of the stack. But the word of caution is we need to differentiate what they are thinking when they are thinking integrate talent management versus a lot of other organizations. They are thinking a different level of integration when they are thinking of integrate talent management processes. Yeah. Any question, comment, Park Steven here?
No, I think coming to that point, I think especially now and more, HR effectiveness is being questioned because there are so many HR initiatives is not really aligned with the business expectations. Yeah. So they're doing HR for HR, not HR for business. So that 100%. Is some gaps that I often see or experience in the HR world.
So couldn't agree more with you. So in fact, Park Steven, if you look at our real life experience, most of the time when we are getting involved in HR transformation, it's interesting, business leaders are involved and they are keen to define the value they want from HR. It's really then up to HR to pick up, to your point, what's the value business wants, what's the value we are defining for other stakeholders, and start aligning everything to that. The moment you start doing, you will create bandwidth, because then you can drop many other things which you could have been doing otherwise. So great point. What I will do, I will get into the digital and why it's key to delivering both employee experience and compliance. And it's a very interesting change, Park Steven. Compliance was dropping as the item across study cycles, and it has come back up, which we expected given the whole social media, digital, lot of challenges, people becoming activists from an environment, from so many other perspectives, people have less patience. So we expected compliance to come up. But the interesting piece is, if you look at the top two, is experience and compliance. And they are counterintuitive and they are contrary. So if you think of compliance, the reaction always is, can we have more controls in processes? Can we do more alerts? Can we do more reporting? Can we create more steps? Versus employee experience, which is about agility, putting employees in the center, enabling empowerment, and so on. And hence we are saying, if you have to manage and balance these two, and these two are really the topmost examples. Literally, the whole digital journey is around balancing many such contradictions, is really to be smart about your digital choices. So when you are smart about your digital choices and you enable employee experience with boundaries defined, what you can do, you can enable a large degree of empowerment where it feels like that not only employees are empowered, they have the freedom of choice, they are executing everything, and compliance is getting delivered on the back end and is enabled on the system. No one needs to physically watch compliance. Systems today need to have smarts and intelligence to enable compliance at an industrial level so that both HR and employees can work fluidly with trust in each other. Now, if you think of mature archetype, compliance goes out. And it's exactly is a reflection of what we are saying. It's not the fact that compliance is not important, because compliance today across all organizations is more important than it was ever before, especially even in an HR context, because a lot of compliance driven risks actually create a risk for brand itself, given the social media amplification and so on. So its compliance is important, but from a service delivery design perspective, mature archetypes are not concerned about it because they have taken care of compliance, embedded it into their platforms, and they are tracking it at an industrial institutional level, and it's working fine. Once something starts working well, obviously you have less concern about that, and you start moving. Interestingly, mature archetypes are also the organizations who are taking the next level leap, and suddenly HR efficiency and cost comes back. So you will have to go back and think these are the organizations who are already working at 1 is to 89, 1 is to 100 kind of ratio, and they are further driving efficiencies because they are creating room for adopting newer technologies, because they have done their tech, they have done their operating model, they have created impact, and now they are hungry for more. So they are driving robotics, they are driving automation, they are doing machine learning, they are doing various cognitive technologies. And as you do some of those investments, you continue to look for efficiencies and cost opportunities. Also, a word of caution here: when we look at our global clients, it's not like that with these all efficiencies happening, they are going to extreme ratios in HR. They are actually using this opportunity to create efficiencies, save cost, to invest in newer type of roles around organization change, roles around managing workforce planning better, roles around M&A, special projects, and so on. So best organizations tend to still work between 100, 110 to 125 ratio, but all the savings which they are creating, because HR ops are becoming leaner from the days when it used to be 1 is to 400 to today when we look at HR ops inside our organization, say as a BPO provider, it's at really at numbers like uh, uh, something like 1 is to 1500, 1 is to 1600, on some platform 1 is to 2000. You are creating room for investing in special roles, and that's very important and it's needed.